Hello, everybody. This is the Conversations with God book group. Um, or we read books by Neil Donald Walsh, and we are doing the Friendship with God, and we are getting close to the end of it. And I think we decided that the next one was Tomorrow's God. I can't remember what I told you guys.
Let me look. I just had it in my library. Uh, Communion with God.
Communion with God. Big difference. Okay. And Linda, what page are we on?
We are on page 375, chapter 18.
Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready, Linda, please go ahead.
All right. Hang on a quick second. Turn notifications off on my phone. Okay. Chapter 18, this is Neil speaking. Friendship with God, an uncommon dialogue. Why are these wonderful truths not taught to us in this way from the beginning? As beautiful as the golden rule was before, now it makes even more sense. It's perfectly symmetrical. The circle of logic is complete. We see the reason for it. We see why it is our own best interest to apply this wisdom. It is no longer an act of altruism, but of practicality. It is simply what works for us. Why is the golden rule not taught this way from the very beginning to little children? Now, the question is not why hasn't this been done in the past. The question is, what do you intend to do in the future? Go, therefore, and teach all ye nations, spreading far and wide the new gospel. We are all one. Ours is not a better way. Ours is merely another way. Speak it not only from your pulpits, but from the halls of your governments as well. Not only in your churches, but in your schools. Not only through your collective conscience, but through your collective economies. Make spirituality real, right here, right now, on the ground. It sounds like you're talking about politicizing our spirituality. Yet there are those who say that spirituality and politics should not mix. You cannot avoid politicizing your spirituality. Your political viewpoint is your spirituality demonstrated. Perhaps it is not a matter of politicizing your spirituality, but of spiritualizing your politics. But I thought there was a separation of church and state. Don't we get into trouble when we try to marry religion and politics? Indeed you do, and I'm not talking about that. You may decide that church and state are best left separate. Based on your results, you may decide that religion and politics do not mix. Spirituality, on the other hand, may be another matter. The reason you may decide that church and state should be separate is that church means a particular point of view, a particular religious belief. You may have observed that when such beliefs inform your politics, you create great controversy and political strife. This is because all people do not share the same religious beliefs. In fact, not all people even participate in religion or church in any form. Spirituality, on the other hand, is universal. All people participate in it. All people agree with it. They do? You could have fooled me. They do, even though they do not realize it, even if they do not call it that. This is because spirituality is nothing more than life itself as it is. Spirituality says that all things are part of life, and that is a statement with which no one can disagree. You can argue all you want about whether there is a God and whether all things are a part of God, but you cannot argue about whether there is life or whether all things are a part of life. The only discussion left then is whether life and God are the same things. And I tell you, they are. Even an agnostic, even an atheist, would agree that there is some force in the universe that is holding it all together. There is also something that started it all. And if there is something that started it all, there has to have been something existing before the universe as you know it existed. The universe didn't just burst out of into being out of thin air. And even if it did, thin air is something. And even if you say that the universe burst into being out of nothing at all, still you must deal with the question of first cause. What caused something to arise out of nothing at all? This first cause is life itself, expressing in physical form. It is life in formation. No one can disagree with this, because this is obviously what's so. You can, however, argue forever, and you have, over how to describe this process, what to call it, what to infer from it, what to conclude. Yet I have told you, this is God. This is what you mean, what you have always meant by the word God. God is first cause, unmoved mover. That which was before, that which is was. That which will be after, that which is now is no longer. The Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Again, I tell you, the words life and God are interchangeable. If the process you are observing is the process of life in formation, then it is as I have said to you before. You are all gods in formation. That is, you are gods in formation. Okay, I suppose. But what does this have to do with anything, least of all politics? If spirituality is really another word for life, then that which is spiritual is life-affirming. To inject spirituality into your politics, therefore, would be to make all political activities and all political decisions life-affirming. Indeed, this is what you are trying to do with your politics. That is why I have said that your political viewpoint is your spirituality demonstrated. The only reason you have created politics is to produce a system by which life may be lived harmoniously, happily, peacefully. That is, a system by which life itself may be affirmed. I've never thought of it that way. To those who founded your country, those who founded your country had. The United States has a Declaration of Independence which says that all of you are created equal with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Your government was based on the notion that human beings could construct a system of self-governance that guaranteed these rights. All governments everywhere were created basically for the same reason. You may differ on the form, but never on the purpose of government. Different cultures and societies may spell out differently their ideas and how to achieve them, but their desires are basically the same. You see then that governments and politics were created in order to guarantee the experience of what spiritually is, which is life itself. Still, most people don't want to hear God talking about politics or political issues. Whenever I write in our foundation newsletter about political issues as they are affected by the message in Conversations with God, I begin receiving negative letters. Cancel my subscription, they say. This is not God's work. These are political views, and I did not subscribe to this newsletter to hear political views. When Marianne Williamson, James Redfield, and I sponsored a peace vigil prayer in Washington a few years ago, everyone thought it was marvelous. We were calling upon all people everywhere to use the power of prayer to bring peace to the world, and we received wide support. Yet as soon as any of us starts talking about how to produce peace, the spiritual principles that underlie it, the mail starts pouring in. People are infuriated. Yes, people want you to pray for peace, but not do anything about it. They want God to find a solution, but they eliminate the possibility that God's solution might just be you doing something about it. In fact, that is the only solution there will ever be, because God works in the world through the people who are in it. Oh, I don't think people mind other people doing something about it. What they mind is God telling them what must be done. Yet I have never told you what to do about it, and I never will. I have never given orders, barked commands, or issued ultimatums. I have merely listened to you tell me where you want to go and offered suggestions on how to get there. You say you want a world that can live in peace and harmony and joy. And I tell you this, joy is freedom. Those words, too, are interchangeable. And any curtailing of freedom is a curtailing of joy. Any curtailing of joy is a curtailing of harmony. And any curtailing of harmony is a curtailing of peace. You tell me you wish to live in a world without conflict, without violence, without bloodshed, without hatred. And I tell you this, a way to have such a world, a way to create it virtually overnight, is to preach and live the new gospel. We are all one. Ours is not a better way. Ours is merely another way. Speak it not only from your pulpits, from the halls of your government as well, not only in your churches, but in your schools, not only through your collective conscience, but through your collective economies. You keep repeating yourself. You keep repeating yourself. Your whole history has been a repeating of your own failures in your personal life and in the collective experience of your planet. The definition of insanity is repeating over and over again the same behaviors while expecting different results. All that those who are seeking to overlay spirituality on politics are trying to do is to say, there is another way. These efforts should be blessed, not criticized. Well, it doesn't work that way. You addressed social issues in the book 2 of Conversations with God, and it was lambasted by many for being too political. Marianne Williamson wrote an absolutely wonderful book called Healing the Soul of America, and it's preached about social spirituality from her pulpit at the Church of Today near Detroit. And she was lambasted by some people with her own congregation for being too political. They said the same things about Jesus. Too political, they said. When he was just teaching spirituality, he was safe. But now he's suggesting that people actually apply the spiritual truths They've learned. Now he's becoming dangerous. We've got to stop him. Yeah. If there's no better way, what is the point of spiritual activism? What is the point of politics? Or of anything? Why should I get involved if it's all just a toss-up? If it doesn't matter one way or the other, how am I to be inspired or participate? Or how am I to be inspired to participate? Out of your desire to make a statement of who you are. It may be a toss-up, whether you comb your hair this way or that. Yet notice that if you've been combing it the same way for the same year, yet notice that you've been combing it the same way for years. Why do you not comb it another way? Could it be because this is not who you are? Why do you buy the car that you buy, wear the clothes that you wear? Everything you do makes a statement, produces an expression of who you are. Every act is an act of self-definition. Does this matter? Is defining the self a thing that matters to you? Of course it is. It's the very reason you came here. Who you are is not a toss-up. Who you are is the most important decision you'll ever make. The point of the new gospel is not that who you are doesn't matter, but just the opposite. Who you are matters so much that each of you is utterly magnificent. The new teaching is that of you is so magnificent that not one of you is more magnificent than the other. Not in the eyes of God, not in your eyes either, if you look with the eyes of God. Because it is impossible for you to better someone. Does that take away your reason for living? Because you can't have a better religion or a better political party or a better economic system? Does that mean you should not have any at all? Must you know that yours will be a better picture before you pick up a paintbrush and paint? Can it not simply be another picture? Another expression of beauty? Must a rose be better than an iris in order to justify its existence? I tell you this, you are all flowers in the garden of the gods. Shall we turn the garden under because no one is more beautiful than another? You have done exactly that. And then you lament, where have all the flowers gone? You are all notes in the celestial symphony. Shall we decline to play the music because one note is no more critical than another? But what if one note is a sour note? Does the sour note not spoil the symphony? That depends on who is doing the listening. I don't understand. Have you ever heard children sing and experience the song as beautiful, even though half of the notes were off key? Yes, I have. I've had exactly that experience. And do you imagine that you are capable of an experience which I am not? I never thought of it that way. And tell me this, is a child singing off key? If a child is singing off key, do you tell her to shut up? Is that how you imagine you will encourage her to love music or to love herself? Or do you inspire her to even greater heights by telling her to keep singing? Of course. I have been listening to your songs for centuries. Your singing is music to my ears. Yet do you imagine that none of you has ever sung off key? Oh, I'm sure one or two of us has. Here then is your answer. You are my children. I listen to you sing and I call it beautiful. There are no sour notes when you sing. There is only you, my child, singing your heart out. You are God's orchestra. It is through you that God orchestrates life itself. There are no sour notes when you play. There's only you, my child, playing your heart out, trying to get it right. If I failed to see the beauty in that, I would have no soul at all. Remember this always. A soul is that which beholds beauty, even when the mind denies it. Oh, that's an extraordinary teaching. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful insight. Therefore, in life, always see with your soul, listen with your soul. Even now, concerning the words on the paper right before you, see them with your soul. Hear them with your soul. Only then can you begin to understand them. It is your soul which sees the beauty and the wonder and the truth of my words. Your mind will deny it forever. It is as I have told you, to understand God, you must be out of your mind. Do not stop the symphony in which you are playing because you think you hear a sour note. Simply change your tune. Effective political activism does not come from anger or hatred, and spiritual activism never does, but rather from love. It is not a question of making someone or something wrong. It is simply a decision to exchange the present reality for a new one, out of a new thought about who you are and who you choose to be. Yes, this is what I've called the new thought movement. Yet I still must ask my question. I guess I'm still in my mind about this. But does this "we are all one" new gospel mean we may not harm a thing, may not swat a mosquito, may not trap a mouse, may not pick a weed, much less a flower? Does it mean that we may not lead a lamb to slaughter for those delicious tender chops? Is it okay to cut off your hair? Is it okay to cut out your heart? Is there any difference? You're not answering my question. Why will you not make your will known to me? Just tell me your will, and all becomes very simple for me. I have no will separate from your own on this or any other matter. I have no preference other than yours. This is what so many of you cannot understand. This is what so many of you cannot abide. For if I have no separate will or preference, what should you do? How can you know what is right, what is wrong, in this or any other matter? And now I've gone even further. Now I've even taken away your idea of better. So now what are you going to do? Now what is the basis of any choice or decision? I tell you, the purpose of life is for you to decide and declare, express, and fulfill who you really are. It is not for me to tell you what is right and wrong, what is better or worse, what to do and what not to do. For you then to simply decide or not to obey me, and for me then to reward or punish. You have tried this system, and it does not work. You have announced over and over again what you think my will to be, but this has not helped you. You have not obeyed it. Behold, you have declared that I am against killing, yet you continue to kill. Some of you even do it in my name. You have said I am against mistreatment and suppression of people of any classes, races, or genders, yet you continue to allow it. You have said that I am against dishonoring of your parents, abuse of your children, ill treatment of your very selves, yet you continue to commit it. You have said that I am against all manner of things that you continue to do. You have not managed to change your behaviors, no matter what you claim that I prefer or command. You have said I am against lying, yet you lie all the time. You've said that I'm against stealing, and yet you steal right and left. You've said that I'm against adultery, yet you take each other's husbands and wives every single day and night. Even your governments, those institutions you've created to protect, you care, and you have created to protect you and care for your needs, lie to you. Indeed, you have created an entire society based on lies. You call some of these lies secrets, yet they are lies nonetheless. For withholding is a lie, plain and simple. It is a failure to reveal the whole truth, to let others know all that there is to know on a subject, so that everyone can make choices based on all the data. You have said that I'm against the breaking of promises and pledges, yet you break promises and pledges all the time. And you seek to do so with impunity, using whatever rationale allows you to justify yourself in the moment. No, the human race has demonstrated quite clearly that my will, as you have understood it and enunciated it, means nothing. The interesting thing is that in the end, this is perfect. Because there are so many disagreements over what my will is, you would probably do even more killing in my name if you suddenly became fervent in your beliefs. I'm reminded of a bumper sticker, God save me from your people. Yes, so there is some irony in that. And so, to your question, is it okay to swat a mosquito, trap a mouse, pull a wheel, weed, slaughter a lamb and eat it? That is for you to decide. All is for you to decide. And there are bigger questions, of course, larger questions. Is it okay to kill a person as a punishment for killing? Abort a birth? Eat a homosexual? Be a homosexual? Have sex before marriage? Have sex at all? Hang on, I've got a cough. Hang on. Have sex before marriage. Have sex at all if you want to be enlightened, and on and on and on. Each day, you must make your decisions. Know only that in deciding, you are announcing and demonstrating who you are. Every act is an act of self-definition. You're getting it. You're understanding. Because you keep repeating it so much. Repetition is good. It allows integration. So now I will repeat something else I have said before. In your daily actions and choices, you are not only announcing who you are, and also deciding who I am, because you and I are one. Thus, in the largest sense, I am answering the question. I am doing it through you. And that is the only way the question can be answered. Out of your answer will come your truth. This is the truth of your being. It is what you are being in truth. Remember that you are a human being. What you are being is up to you. Although I have told you this now many times, this is something you may not have previously seriously considered. Okay. But oneness does not mean equality, right? Can I at least get that out of you? Oneness does not mean sameness, correct? Then what does oneness mean? The question is not, what does oneness mean? The question is, what does oneness mean to you? This is a question that must be made within each human heart, and out of your decision will create your future, or end it. Yet even as you ponder this, there is guidance, there is insight, there is wisdom that has been given to you to help you, not to do what is right, because right is a relative term, but to get you where you say you want to go, to do what you say you want to do. As I have noted before, as a human race, as a species, you say that you want to live together in peace and harmony. You want to create a better life for your children. You want to be happy, if nothing else. On this, you all agree. And so this guidance has been given you, and it comes in the form of the 3 points. These are, again, 1, we are all one. 2, there is enough. 3, there's nothing we have to do. The first point, which we have been discussing at length here, may be more readily and easily applied when the second and third are understood. And I want to keep looking at the application of this wisdom and how to make it practical in everyday life. So let's get to those other points. End of chapter.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Anybody want to start the conversation?
Well, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
I happen to be reading a book by Muji called Vaster Than Sky, Greater Than Space. And he says basically the same things, but just totally different words. It's a whole different way of coming at it. But basically, the word he uses is consciousness. It's all just consciousness. And having that while reading this makes it so clear what's going on in this chapter and what God's talking about. Over.
Well, that makes sense to me. I mean, I think there's many words and many writers who use different words for all that there is, the divine, God, whatever you want to call it, consciousness. And I think sometimes when you're reading 2 books at a time, like you are right now, Linda, it can make one or the other or both more clear on what they're saying. And it really emphasizes ours is not a better way, ours is merely another way. Over.
having the understanding that quantum physics brings to this conversation, that there isn't anything out there, that you sitting in your chair looking out at the world, there isn't anything out there. Absolutely everything is a creation coming from within. And so that's, when Neil goes over, when God goes over and over on the, you're deciding who you are. Not only are you deciding who you are, but you're deciding everything about everything that you see and interact with. Over.
I think that can be one of the big challenges, can't it? To be deceived by like our eyes and ears, thinking that that's the reality. But then coming back to the believing is seeing aspect rather than seeing is believing. But it can be a really difficult thing, especially if you disengage from practices, whether they're reading good texts like these ones, or meditation, or prayer, or whatever the vehicle you choose to use is. It can be very easy to drift into the dream world of the eyes and ears, when that is, essentially that is really just a reflection of what's going on the inside. So it's like the biggest cliche thing, isn't it? I think Wayne Dyer said it, but I only say it not because it's fanciful things that I've read in a book and that sounds nice, but I've literally experienced that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So for me, that is real ultimately, because at the highest level of my reality, I've experienced that. And it's funny, at the same time, it may not be real depending on where I am at the time. And I guess the books say that perception is created from your perspective. So for me, like, I think it's about getting that perspective right. And not that I want to become locked into becoming a meditator or someone who does breathing exercises, because I don't want to do that either. I mean, ultimately, I just want, the freedom. But for me, that's the, good vehicles at the moment to sort of raise my perspective on things, so that my perception of the outside events that the eyes and ears just are just telling me what is seen in a different way, where I can experience it all in a way that makes me feel good. And the funny thing is, the more good I feel about things, the more good that happens, small picture and big picture. It's such a big thing, isn't it? Because like Neil says, you can condense CWG into a few words of we are all one, and you can. And also at the same time, it's something that I think you can just talk infinitely, and I guess people have been speaking infinitely on the subject as well. So I'll put it out. I'll leave it there. But yeah, I mean, amazing chapter. Really, really interesting. I haven't looked at this book for a while, but I remember it was this and book 3 were just like such amazing like state setters for me. If I could be in whatever state, and especially remember with these 2 books, I think maybe the truth or the level of connection that Neil had while he was writing them was extremely powerful. So yeah, over.
Thank you, Michael.
Another passage for me that's very powerful in this chapter is the one where it says there are no sour notes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. Yeah. because God says it in a lot of different ways to make a really powerful point. Over.
Well, the funny thing is, I see. Let's put this video on as well. See, I find I experience the most sour notes, if you like, when I'm the bitter one as well, and suddenly, my life becomes full of many more sour notes that the eyes and ears will tell me it's them. But I think, you know, and sometimes you think, oh, you know, it can be a bit annoying when you leave the spirituality for a while and come back and just think, you know, it's true. You know, I'm the bitter one. And I'm this, I'm that. When people, you know, a certain number of people can come into your life, maybe even all in one day, that you're very quick to be able to make a judgmental comment about. But the point I'm making is just the truths that I've seen along the last 5 years is that fundamentally, at the deepest level, I know it's you know, within me. It's the projection. Everything is the projection, you know, of even to everyone on this call, and likewise for you that's seeing me and everyone else. I would say it's really plausible and arguably that we're all just, if you know, figments of each other's imagination. And I think the books do say that as well, right? Do they say that? I'm sure they do.
I'm not sure exactly how it's said, but I think that's the gist of it.
But yeah, I mean, for me, powerful chapter. I mean, it's, I find it a bit much sometimes, you know, stepping back. It's almost like this stuff is like the gym in a way. And I've been away from the gym for a while. And, you know, I was maybe much more spiritually fit a little while back. So, you know, when I went into the spiritual gym, I could see those 50s and 80 weights or whatever, and I could lift those and I could talk about those and really resonate with that and go on for a lot longer. But, you know, sometimes where it's just, you know, so much in that particular chapter, I didn't have the text in front of me, I was just listening. It's almost like, wow, it's a lot. You know, it's like you walk out the gym and your muscles are aching. That was a tough workout, you know. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being a bit weak. I need to maybe read and stuff. I've done more reading earlier on in the day, so maybe that's it as well.
Well, I think the analogy is good. And like what Angela said, the thing about the sour notes, and you added to it. It reminded me of when I was little. I would come home and sing a song for my mother, and she'd go, "Oh, honey, you can't really sing." And so for many years of my life, and I loved my mother. I still love my mother. I remember thinking, well, I guess I can cross that off. Like, I can't sing. And then as my youngest son started to get a huge interest in singing, we would sing while we were driving cross country. And my son would look at me and goes, "You can sing, Mom. I mean, you're harmonizing. You're and so through no intentional fault of my mother, she just made me think all I did was sing out the sour notes. So that really struck me. There are no sour notes. And there were T-shirts when I was growing up that says God does not make any mistakes. And I remember that kind of resonating with me. I was like, well, God doesn't make mistakes. So anyway, I just got interrupted. So I lost my train of thought. Over.
I want to just jump in and touch on the bringing spirituality into politics, because I actually think that that's what has to happen in order for us to make the bridge to where we're going. And I've been doing it in very subtle ways. This little town that I live outside of is in great pain, and they're sort of ripping each other up. And I don't even live in the town, so I can't vote. I have no bearing over anything that turns out or happens. But I happen to be friends with a lot of the people that are on the council, like 3 of the people that are on council. And I know all the people that are on council. So I volunteered to start doing these things called Seward Civic Engagement. And I'm teaching civic engagement. And because of who I am, it's just natural that I'm weaving spirituality into these teachings. And I'm talking to them about, we're going to build an island of sanity here in Seward, you know, and I'm helping them to the extent that they are asking for help. I'm helping them, and it's fascinating to watch what's happening. So I encourage everybody, mix that spirituality into politics, because this chapter's all about it, and it has to happen. It's part of the healing. Over.
I remember, and I think it was a program presented by Humanities Team where both Marianne Williamson and Neil were on the same one. And it might have been around the time she ran for office here in the U.S. for Senate. And
yeah,
there were many people who asked the questions that were being asked in this chapter is, should we be mixing politics with our spirituality? And they both vehemently said yes. That's how you express your spirituality. You can't just put a line between your spirituality and your politics. You need to learn how to make them work together. And
it's not religion.
It's not religion. It's spirituality. Over.
Shabana better do her meditation.
Oh my gosh, where did the time go? Shabana. Are you still with us, Shabana?
Yeah, I was trying to get myself off mute.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, I'll start right now. Lord God, this demonizing of each other by the politicians is beyond the scope of love. So we here and now, as a group, send extra love to those who need it most. We know that your intention is to magnify our desire to work together with the intention of absorbing those who are hurting so much that they have to demonize others without recognizing that all they're doing is projecting their own self-hatred. So heal us, one and all, because as a group, we are projecting love now. Amen.
Thank you, Shabana.
Thank you, Shabana.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think I can see you talking there, but you're muted on my screen anyway. I don't know if you're on anyone else's, but I can see a mute symbol on you there. And talking.
Okay, Shabana, do you write these down or do you just come up off the top of your head?
No, they just hopefully it's not me speaking.
Well, what I was going to suggest is maybe, because they're not terribly long at all, but they're very powerful, that maybe we can transcribe them, because there have been several that you've done that I wish they're recorded, but I just haven't gone back and transcribed them. So anyway, lovely job.
I'll be happy to do that, but Nanette, this is my conversation with God, and I'm glad that you told me that. I'll do it and send them to you.
Excellent. All right. Is there, Linda, was there one more chapter next week? Did I see that?
Yeah, there's a chapter 19 anyway. I haven't looked ahead beyond that, but I'm not here next week, remember.
See, I thought this was the week you weren't going to be. Okay, so chapter 19.
My friends were drunk when they corralled.
I don't have it in front of me anymore.
Don't worry, it's chapter 19, and then we'll discuss the next book again next week. I mean, we'll discuss which book it is. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. See you
Bye.
next week.
Love you all.
Yeah, I love you.
Bye-bye.